Once a wealthy man, Vic Van Allen allowed his wife to have affairs in order to avoid a divorce and keep up appearances in their high society social circle. However, things take a deadly turn when one of her lovers begins to threaten the couple. Hey guys, welcome to our channel, Mystery Recaps. Today, we will recap a 2022 psychological thriller movie named Deep Water. To know what happens later, keep on watching the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. At the beginning of the film, Vic Van Allen returns home after riding a bicycle. Melinda, his wife, is sitting outside the home and is astonished by what she sees. They have a little daughter, as shown in the following scenario. Her mother is shouting at her incessantly as she is listening to her favorite music. Vic enters the space where his wife requests that he pick out an outfit for her. Then his wife requests that he get her black shoes, which he gladly does. In essence, this man follows his wife's directions. The pair attends a party where they conversed with their friends and enjoyed beer. When Melinda runs into her old friend Joe, she begins to talk to him, which her husband witnesses. Soon after, Melinda brings her companion into a quiet area and begins kissing him. Melinda continued kissing even though the pair caught each other's sight. Melinda begins to dance on top of a piano to get everyone's attention as if this weren't enough. Vic smiles at her despite her odd behavior, as if nothing just occurred. Later that evening, Joe thanks Vic for letting him see his wife Melinda and told him that he really likes their hospitality. Vic asks him to think about a man named Martin McRae who went missing recently. Vic tells him that Martin's disappearance was caused by him. Joe believed it's a joke, but Vic explained that Martin was friends with Melinda, therefore he killed Martin. Joe asked Vic whether he was threatening him, to which Vic replied, "What do you think?" Joe was terrified from Vic. This behavior of Vic didn't sit well with Melinda, so to show her anger, Melinda shows up naked at the kitchen counter at home, as Vic was speaking to their babysitter. Vic clearly didn't like this, so he annoyed his wife into going away. Vic meets his buddies a few days later. There he discovers that everyone is aware of his threat against Joe. Melinda is a sick lady, according to his acquaintances. His friends suggest him to move on and leave Melinda since she has little respect of him in the bond they share. What do you think? Were his friends right about Melinda's character? Let us know in the comments section. Back at home, Melinda quarrels Vic to apologize to Joe. Subsequently, Joe gets a Friday dinner invitation from her. Joe knocks on the door on Friday and is greeted by Vic. He inquires nervously whether Melinda is at home, to which Vic once more jokes that she isn't. Vic promises they will have some seafood and engaging talk afterwards, but then he finds out that Joe has a seafood allergy. Despite the fact that Melinda was aware of this, she did not inform Vic. Later at the table, Vic cooks Joe a grilled cheese sandwich, and then Melinda sends Vic to put their daughter to bed and read her bedtime tales in an effort to enrage her husband. Later, when Vic came down, he catches Melinda and Joe enjoying each other. Joe expects Vic to apologize for making a joke about killing Martin McRae with him. Vic called him an Uber and said that this was no joke. In the next scene, Vic and Melinda are having a conversation with a writer at a party. He makes fun of Martin McRae and labels Vic a murderer. After that, Vic is seen dancing with a woman, and when Melinda notices and later compares herself to the lady, she attempts to interact with Vic when he is driving back home and urges him into talking whether Melinda is better than that woman or not. Once they reached home, Melinda and Vic both had a passionate moment. What do you think? Did Melinda envy that woman? Let us know in the comments section. The next day, Vic and Melinda were watching their daughter play as they are outside. Vic receives a call from the bank regarding Melinda's account. He learns that she sent a piano player a check for $3,000. Vic attempts to go further and begins looking for this someone. He eventually encounters a pianist who is both an excellent and incredibly attractive. In the same setting, he also sees Melinda making out with the pianist. Vic greets Melinda at night and inquires as to her whereabouts. She appeared to be somewhat drunken at the moment and couldn't answer. One afternoon, he sees the pianist carrying flowers while he was driving his daughter home. The same day, the flowers were in his house. He worries that Melinda, his wife, is having an affair behind his back once more. While his wife is working hard and getting smashed by the pianist outside, he is primarily wasting his time at home. Vic confronts her for her actions, including failing to return home for the entire evening and using his money to deceive him. This lady is totally self-conscious and doesn't care about his sentiments no matter what he does. She even tells Vic that her bedtime with the musician was wonderful. Melinda invites the pianist to their party the next week at Vic's celebration. Vic and the pianist even shook hands at the party. Vic saw the two secretly coming out of a room. Melinda is so irresponsible that she would also engage in sexual activity in front of her husband. As it begins to rain, everyone retreats indoors. They begin to take pleasure in the festivities once more. Melinda decides to check on the pianist because he is nowhere to be found. When she finds him dead within the pool, she screams. Everyone outside rushed to save him from the pool when they saw this, but their efforts to recover him were unsuccessful. When the police started their investigation, Melinda began to blame Vic for the murder. Cops began questioning Vic for the obvious reasons, but nothing strange was discovered throughout their conversation. Later, Vic queries Melinda about her level of fear of him. She claims that she is not afraid because she was the reason why he killed the pianist. Later, when Vic is riding his bicycle, he sees flashes of Melinda and another man together. When the couple later invites their friends to dinner, Vic advises his pals to avoid telling people he is a killer. He is quite skeptical about this matter, and occasionally he would discuss this with his wife Melinda in meetings. Later on, Vic was casually strolling along a street when he abruptly saw a number of cameras in his wife's vehicle. He notices his wife seated next to a man who identifies as a psychotherapist. Later, he admits to his friend's wife that he and Melinda hired a private investigator to look into him. It results in the pair yelling at one another. Vic discovers that she is seeing yet another man later on. Tony, a friend of Melinda, meets Vic. Melinda enters the home and embraces Tony as if it were her spouse. She also tells Vic throughout the conversation that Tony was the first American she slept with. Vic feels a little irritated after seeing all this. Later that evening, they begin to eat and listen to enjoyable music. In front of Vic, they begin to dance quite improperly. Vic sees them sneaking into his bedroom as well. He notices that Melinda is going about her normal business, and they look at one another. Vic then informs Tony that Melinda wants to see him, and forces Tony to sit in his vehicle as he is overcome with emotion. He brings him to a remote location that is very far from the sea. After that, they get out of the car. He asks him more questions about Melinda and his dating history. He then picks up a big rock and smashes it at him. Vic ends his life in a very short period of time. Then, so that no one can see him, he drowns him in the river by placing a large boulder on his body. After the event, he cheerfully returns home. The couple made a decision to have a picnic the next day in the same area where Tony was murdered. Vic unintentionally notices the body floating on top of the river, but he didn't struggle to hide the body at that time. He learns at night that Melinda is conversing with Don, another man, but that night she tells him she loves him and invites him to sleep in her room. The next day, he returns to the same location to correct his error, and Melinda finds Tony's wallet inside Vic's office. Vic is attempting to lower Tony's body into the river when a man unexpectedly shows up. When the person questions him about his activities, he notices an unexpected hand emerging from the river. When the elderly guy notices this, he begins to run, and Vic pursues him on his bicycle. After an extended chase, the elderly guy is involved in an accident. Melinda is once more seated in front of the house as Vic returns home. The scene portrays Melinda putting Tony's ID on fire. Melinda did not open up to police about what happened, and the movie ends.